Today we're sharing some tried and tested ways of levelling up study skills so that you can be your most successful self. Before we start to identify some of the best study skills for ourselves, the most important thing to remind ourselves of is why. Why are we going to be doing this studying in the first place? Connecting to our why, our reason for doing anything, is the key to success. It's the target that we're aiming for, and knowing what it is means we're much more likely to meet it, to hit it or smash it. So take a moment to think about what your why is for this studying or for this educational journey that you're about to embark on. Why have you chosen to study this? Where will it take you? And who's going to benefit from it? Knowing the answers to these three questions helps us think about the importance behind the studying and the education that we're about to start. Next, it can be really helpful to figure out what effective learning looks like for us. We're all different and so have different preferences in how we learn things. So do you find that you absorb information best through video or podcasts or reading? Think about when you often share new information or facts with other people. Do you hear it in a podcast? Do you watch it in a video? Or maybe you read it in an article or magazine? Do you prefer to absorb information or write essays by yourself? Or do you like to be surrounded by people? Where might be the most effective place for you to study? And do you want to include anyone in it? Do you like to practice what you've learnt with others? Do you like to explain things so that you know you've made sense of them? Or do you like to be tested on what you've learned? Think about the times when you've been really productive and try and identify the elements that contributed to that success. Knowing what successful studying looks like for us means we can build it into our schedules so we get the most from it in the future. Building a habit. Starting something new, like university, gives us a really lovely opportunity to establish new routines and new habits that will be really beneficial. Habits are really important for us for a number of reasons, and creating new ones can give us lots of great opportunities as well as reduce stress. Habits provide stability, knowing what to expect and having similar things happen when we expect them to. They also reduce uncertainty. It means we don't always have to be adapting or responding to new things, and so our energy can be focused on what we want it to be. Habits are a way of storing knowledge. Creating a habit means that we can then use our brains for other more useful things. So by creating a habit around when and how we study, revise or write essays, for example, we can save more mental energy for the actual tasks we want to complete within those study times. A habit also makes us more efficient. It literally saves us time. It's like the difference between making a cup of tea in our own kitchen and someone else's. In our own kitchen, we can do it without thinking in the shortest amount of time possible. It's a habit. But if someone else's, we have to figure out where they keep the cups, the tea, the sugar. We might check multiple drawers for the right spoon and then finally look for the bin with the tea bag balanced on the spoon. It's a tiny example, but it shows how a lack of habits takes more from us and means we have less mental resources for other things. A new study habit at university might look like one morning a week dedicated to study, or starting every study session with just 2 minutes of connecting to your why, reminding yourself why you're doing that studying. It could be making yourself a certain hot drink, a delicious mocha, or a lovely herbal tea when you're studying. It might be a reward for when you've completed your work. Or it just might be a really familiar study schedule that is the same week in, week out. So just take a moment to pause this video and identify a habit that you'd like to take forward into your new stage of learning. What will you do? When will you do it? And how will it help you? Another great study tip is to start bigger. It can be so tempting when we start any new project, like studying or writing an essay, to get some easy things out of the way first. A 20-minute planning task here or a small catch-up video there. Maybe registering for a study group or checking our uni emails. We're getting things ticked off, which is really validating, but what happens when we've completed a day's worth of small study tasks and there's still a 3-hour essay to write? Instead of starting with the littlest quick wins first, starting the biggest tasks is a really clever way to get more important things done and motivate ourselves to achieve more. What this looks like in practice is what we'd answer when asked, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. When something feels big and unmanageable, it's so hard for us to motivate ourselves. Psychologically, we find it easier to do a single small piece of a larger project. Completing a small part of something big makes it more tempting to take another small bite, which gets more of the bigger stuff done. So I want you to just have a go at this now, just for a few minutes. Pick something you maybe feel a bit overwhelmed by at the moment. Do you have an upcoming essay or presentation or some exams to revise for? And I just want you to take a few minutes to write down everything you could do. Break it down into loads of little bites and highlight the small parts of that big project that you could do this week or even right away. Stephen R. Covey, who has done decades of research into the habits of the most effective people on the planet, has found that scheduling and planning on a weekly, not a daily basis, is the key to success. He shares that doing a weekly plan of all our activities gives us a much more balance and context than daily planning, and means that we can schedule things that benefit us, like studying, so that we're more likely to do it. When we look at how much time we have in a week, even when we've accounted for things like work or learning and family commitments, we often have a surprising amount of time left. When we see where we have spare time, we can prioritise the activities like studying that will take us forward to our goals. Seeing everything over the course of a week makes fitting in specific hours of study time much easier. It feels more possible and helps to reduce those overwhelming feelings that a never completed daily to-do list can sometimes invoke. This weekly breakdown shows how we can start identifying time for study. For example, if I'm working part-time 4 days a week and attend lectures 3 times a week, plus have kids to pick up from school in the daytime, putting it all down a weekly view really helps me to see the gaps that I have for other activities like revision and studying. Even with what feels like a full schedule, there's definitely achievable gaps for thinking things like studying. And when we start to put things in place ahead of the week, we're more likely to achieve them. I want you to remember that you are on this learning journey for a reason. If we make studying work for ourselves and manage our time more effectively, then we can fulfill more than we thought possible. So what one thing will you do today to level up your studying skills?